Hey Google, who can I call at any time to get me out of some stitch? Who's that? Dependable Pete.
Oh, I thought you were actually. I thought you were actually calling Google. I was waiting for Google to answer then.
I've had to put her on silent mode, on
Gotcha.
private mode. No, I'm the airplane mode
Gotcha.
because she talks to me. She listens to me all the time. Can't have that. Dude, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you very much, and thanks for having me, Nick.
I'll just get you to get a bit closer to the mic so everyone can hear. Yeah, just pull that. There you go.
How does that sound?
Oh, that sounds perfect. Can you hear it better in your?
Yeah, much better. Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, much better.
It's a stinker of a hot day today.
Oh, it's beautiful. I was just saying earlier on, I'm knee deep in bathroom renovations at the moment, and you forget to drink water, and you only realise how dehydrated you are is when you stand up and start wobbling around.
Like you're drunk.
I know. Yeah, I've been in Australia 20 years, and I still haven't got used to the fact that I've got to drink lots of water.
I know.
And
I know. I've been waking up and I forget to drink. I wake up so thirsty. And I forget that I have to drink water.
Oh, it's so important. It really is.
And we've got stairs now. So like walking down the stairs, I feel like so stiff because my joints are not lubricated.
Well, I had my 51st birthday 2 days ago. So I'm now starting to feel that 51 years.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
50, did you say 50?
51.
51.
51, I think. 51.
Mate, you don't look a day over 20.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm a pretty good looking chap.
So for those that don't know, let's tell the people listening a little bit about your background. What are you known for?
What I'm known for? I've had a lot of different phases, I suppose, in my life. I joined the British Army when I was 16 years old. So the first 15 years I was in the British Army, and which I thought was a career for life. But then bumped into an Aussie Sheila in London. She was doing the Aussie barmaid thing, and one thing led to another, and that thing led to a child.
Wow.
And then so ended up prematurely getting dragged kicking and screaming out of the regiment and settling in Australia back in 2000.
How many years were you in the military?
15 years. So
15
I
years,
joined
wow.
I joined when I was 16.
Yeah.
And loved every minute of it. Loved absolutely every minute of it. It's an old cliche, but the friends you have in the army are friends for life.
Really?
Yeah, they really are. I mean,
Wow.
I still consider myself part of the regiment.
Really?
Yeah, I still try and catch up with the boys as often as I can.
Yeah.
As much as I can, being 12,000 miles away.
Yeah.
But I did have some friends over Christmas. Some of the lads came over, and it's just awesome because doesn't matter how many years pass, it's like some of them I hadn't seen for 12 years, and it's exactly as you left it.
What makes it? What's the thing about the military that brings you guys so close?
I think you just cut straight through the bullshit. You know, I mean, I've had friends. I've been in Australia 20 years now, and I'm very, very privileged and lucky to have many good friends around me. But you churn through a lot of people as an ex-soldier. You churn through a lot of people very quickly because you quickly realize how good people from bad people, basically. With a civilian friend, you don't really know. To most normal people, most civilians, it's very difficult to get to that stage.
Yeah.
Because you don't know people until they're put under pressure.
Yeah.
You don't know people until you're in trouble, and that's when you know. In the military, that's sorted very quickly. You know, and generally speaking, through training.
Yeah.
So in the training process, you get rid of the dross. So what's left is, you know, it sounds really cocky, but it's the cream. You know, the cream rises, and
Absolutely.
you know, you're in an echo chamber. You're surrounded by people, like-minded people, and then when you're put under pressure, the weak ones drop off, and the good people stay. So it's
And being there long enough, that it's just
Absolutely,
you're
yeah.
left with the creme de la creme.
So you know them inside and out. You live with them 24 hours a day, especially when you go on operations. You're away in Northern Ireland for 6 months, or you're away, you know, in the Middle East, and month after month after month, you're living with them, sleeping right next to them. There's nothing that you don't know about that.
Yeah.
That you know, you mate. Absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
So, and they're the true friendships you get. And I know that, you know, there's a whole bunch of people I can call tomorrow, and if I was in stuck, and then you know that they'd be there.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So, yeah.
That's a very good point. You don't really know someone until they're under pressure.
And that was, you know, I recently found, I've seen that a couple of times, but there's no more so than the recent business I had, Café Moto, which went under in August. that was I was very.
By the way, Café Moto, best coffees in town.
Oh, thank you very much. Used to be the best coffees in town. Sadly, no more.
And the bikes in there were amazing.
I know, yeah. Well, we had that. I always had that dream of, going off and doing something myself, setting my own business up. Naively, I suppose, looking back at it now, I've never been a businessman. I've always been successful at what I do, but never been a businessman. So,
So Café Moto was the first business?
Yeah, never.
Dude, you jumped into the deepest fucking end.
And the worst possible industry to get into, which is in
dude.
Melbourne. It's a shit industry. It really is. It's a terrible, terrible industry, and you quickly have to make a choice whether you want to be a crook or you want to do the right thing.
Really?
Yeah, and
Wow.
I'm not judging any other cafe that's successful, but to be a successful cafe in Melbourne, you have to be prepared to do dodgies.
Really?
So underpay staff, not pay taxes, not pay permits. It's impossible to run a cafe in Melbourne doing the right thing. So old muggins here try to do the right thing. And
I remember you supported the wages.
That's right.
Yeah, you did everything.
Well, we had a
quite
campaign. We started a campaign to pay award wages and to do the right thing. There's no stomach for it, because the general population say the right things, and they nod their heads in heated agreement, saying, "Of course, we should pay staff correctly," but they don't want to pay $7 for a latte.
Yeah.
So, and that's the black and white of it. There's just cut through all the bullshit, cut through all the rhetoric, and the only way that cafes can pay their staff properly is if they're a big chain, like McDonald's, or who, by the way, pay a different award rate than any other normal family-run cafe. Yeah, absolutely.
What?
They pay their staff less than
But
family. They're under a special award. They have their own KFC, McDonald's, all that shite food. They have their own special award.
That's bullshit.
Yeah, it's crap, And then you get the mum and dads who set off on their little dream, want to start a cafe naively, quite often. And then you quickly realise. And we ran for 5 years, and I'm very proud of what we did. And it was amazing. Yeah. It was an amazing cafe. For those who don't know, it was a motorcycle cafe. We had a workshop out the back, a motorcycle workshop out the back. We did roadworthies, repairs, maintenance, servicing. And at the front, we had a really cool cafe. And it was amazing. We built it from scratch, built everything ourselves. It was really successful. It was turning over $1 million a year.
Wow.
But we didn't see a brass farthing out of it. You don't see $1 out of that.
Yeah.
60% of the money was going to wages.
And you put your heart and soul into it.
You do. And the whole family's involved, and it's a learning curve. We look at it now, and it's. I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I did it, and I'm glad I went through that.
Yeah.
But it was very naive. You jump into it, and I think it comes from my military background, where you have belief in the system. You believe that when you go into something, that the system is there, that not so much look after you, but there'll be guidelines, and what they say is what they're going to do.
And it just doesn't work that way.
It's and the government knows it, the councils know it, everybody knows it. It's just this elephant in the room nobody wants to talk about, including customers. We had these campaigns where we put up the surcharge on the weekends to cover weekend wages, and the backlash was just phenomenal.
Really?
We had this huge public campaign on Facebook. You might have seen it. We had 8,000 followers on Facebook, and we had this great campaign, and all the public were jumping in. Of course, yeah, absolutely, this is fantastic. Yeah, well, let's do it. But then when it comes to handing over the cash, didn't want to do it. So it's
everyone's very quick to voice their opinion, but when it comes to action.
That's exactly right. You'd see this in your line of work and the charity stuff that you do, and it's one thing to nod your head furiously, saying, "Of course, something should be done about it," but then when you tug their arm and say, "Okay, let's do something about it."
Yeah, no one wants to do anything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and that's sad.
It is sad because we are proud of.
But again, for the people that do. Like, well done to them. Yeah, like the people that do support that, amazing work.
Absolutely. And we wouldn't have changed a thing. We went under. We struggled along for 5 years. The final nail in the coffin was the
roadworks.
Yeah, the level crossing work.
Yeah.
Which, we, and that again was a real insight into what a lying bunch of bastards the government is and politicians are. We all know it, but again, something deep down they're thinking, oh, they must be wanting to do the right thing. They must want to help you. No, they don't. They couldn't give two fucks.
Yeah.
They really do not give a shit.
So for those that are watching or listening, that you were on the Nepean.
Yeah, so we were in
Highway.
Karen Beach.
Yeah.
So we were going back right to the start. We were looking for a really cool old retro servo type building where we could set up. There's a place called Café, Ace Café in London, which is the mother of all motorbike cafes. That they started it all back in the 1950s with the cafe racer movement, and it's a really cool, funky cafe in London, and that's what we model ourselves from, with their blessing.
Yeah.
And we know the chaps from there, and they're awesome. So we found this old servo in Carrum, and it was a run-down piece of shit. The roof was falling in, and we got a good deal on it. And we spent 3 months literally rebuilding it. I physically rebuilt the roof, got it all back and running. Then we built all the furniture, and it's put a lot of work into getting it all up and running.
Yeah.
So that's right on the Nepean Highway. Good spot, great little spot. We did struggle with staff because people either wanted to work in Mornington or Portsea or the city. So you're in a bit of a no man's land in terms of staff. But we did okay. But so you quickly realize though, we were absolutely chocker block. And when we first opened, lines at the door every weekend. We're turning tables over, and you don't see a brass farthing out of it. You don't see $1 out of it. Because the more successful we became, the more staff we had to put on. You can't deliver quality service without good quality staff. Yeah.
You had good staff.
We had amazing, and we still keep in touch with them. We used to employ a lot of scallywags, so people that were down in the dumps. We had a core group of good staff, but we had an agreement with an organisation in Frankston where we'd get a lot of people who were struggling to find work.
Yeah.
On drugs, in and out of prison. So. Yeah, we had them all down there. We had them all down there, in and out of the place, and and we had a great success rate in looking after people and getting them back on their feet.
It seems like you guys tried to do a lot of good, but the reward wasn't as high as you wanted to be able to support that.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, and I think given the right money and the right circumstances, we had a great formula. We had a fantastic formula there.
Yeah.
But just ran out of cash. And then
did you ever think about seeking out for investment into the company?
It's when you're in the melee of running the business, you're struggling to survive day by day, and you sit back and we did look at that. We had a look at, but the amount of work and effort that goes into setting something up, doing proposals, and we were literally just fighting day by day to stay afloat.
Yeah.
So to put that on, and we had, and you.
But even in a position where you're thriving, it still takes a lot of time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So you can be surviving or thriving, right? And even if you're thriving, you still need to keep that boat afloat, don't you?
100%. Yeah.
There's just no time in the day.
Nothing at all, and you're not having the rewards of money in the bank either. I was general manager of Eureka Tower for 10 years, earning a lot of money, good money in a corporate environment, and jumped into Café Moto. So I've gone from earning 3 figures to nothing, and relying on my missus, who thankfully she had a half decent job. So we're struggling at home as well. So you've gone from a certain lifestyle, living in the city, living in an apartment in South Bank, good money, not wanting for anything, to all of a sudden, watching what you buy. And when you're shopping, you had to be, and it's been I grew up in a shit environment when I was a young kid. And I remember that poverty, and never would I thought to get back to, it's not poverty, not even close, but
it's a big change.
Just a big change, penny pinching, and and really struggling and watching, and moaning when you got a bloody rego bill in, and this. I realize I'm very privileged compared to a lot of people out there living on the streets. I'm not trying to claim I'm destitute, but it's the rewards weren't there. So you're working 7 days a week and you're putting massive hours in, having no downtime, no quality family time, no holidays, for nothing. You know, you're not earning any money out of it. So
Yeah.
it's a trudge, you know, it's a real heartache to put that much
Yeah,
effort in
absolutely.
and not get the rewards, you know.
Yeah, but the fact that you dived into it,
Mm.
I think that's remarkable.
We don't regret, like I
Courageous.
said, we don't regret one minute of it. We
Yeah.
really, it's what a massive learning curve. I wish I'd have put some more research into it at the start, but I'm like that, you know. I just get excited and I dive into things, and you know, because I'm not cocky but overconfident
Yeah.
in my abilities. And this was a real humbler, you know. It's a real.
Well, it's just an expensive learning
It is,
lesson, isn't it?
It is. But you know what? We came out okay. We went into liquidation in August. And even talking about that, you know, it can be embarrassing for some people, like as a failure or.
But it's never a failure. There's no such thing as a failure.
Not at all.
Unless you don't learn anything. If you
Exactly
don't
right.
learn anything, then you're an idiot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But going back to what we were saying before, though, about your friends and knowing who your friends are.
Yeah.
As a cafe owner, especially a cool cafe, which, you know, when it went under, it hit the media. You know, it was on ABC, it was on Channel 10, The Project. It was called Iconic.
Yeah.
It was called the iconic Cafe Moto. That I'm proud of.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and when it went under, so when we were in business, when we were operating, you get all these hangers on. You know, everybody wants to. It's a Melbourne thing that everybody wants to know a cool cafe owner. You know, you had all these people all wanted to know you.
Right, okay.
And then as soon as you went under, gone.
Really?
Yeah, the big chunk of people just
Wow.
like a dust outline where they used to be.
That's an interesting dynamic.
Yeah. Because you're no longer any use. You know, you're no longer cool. You're no longer, you know, and this kind of connects to some of the work that you do with the homelessness, and a lot of those people, how their situation changes very, very quickly, and how they can't cope sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, divorce, a death in the family, or they become bankrupt or lose the business.
Yeah.
We struggled. You know, we went under in August, and we've had a shit time over the last couple of months. You know, but I've got a strong family, lovely wife, great mates. You know, I've got a real core of great mates, and we had that framework, we had the foundation to survive that, and we were never in any danger of being destitute. We just struggled. But those poor bastards who don't have that framework, who don't have that support network, who have one, you know, and it just takes one or two knocks for them to say, oh, fuck it, you know, I just can't deal with this shit.
Yeah.
And they end up, you know.
It is from the people I've spoken to on the streets, it's put the fear in me that we are just so close.
Yeah.
Like, doesn't matter how rich you are, doesn't matter how much money you've made, you're so close to being under that line, under that poverty line.
It's, you know, money means nothing. It really doesn't. You know, and I think
if this is not
if
this is not working right, like you so close at any moment.
Yeah. And like, again, you know, going back to the whole military thing, you know, that I'm so blessed with quality friendship.
Yeah.
But some people, they might be friends with somebody for years, and then something bad happens. You know, however their life starts to unravel, and all of a sudden the one person they thought they could rely on just said, "Fuck this, I'm out of here."
Yeah.
You know, you're a loser.
Yeah.
You know, and they're gone.
And sometimes that happens with your partner, like partners.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You'd be married, and all of a sudden, you know, something happens, and you know, you're gone.
Yeah.
You know, the missus leaves you, or the husband leaves you, and that's it. You know, happens so quickly.
I remember talking to one guy. So for those that don't know, we have a charity called the Winter Care Package, where we help. We distribute blankets, beanies, gloves, and all these things to the homeless people, and we only do it during winter. And I remember talking. So every year I speak to someone that sticks in my mind for a long time. And this one year there was this guy who was just telling me he from one day to the next his wife left him. Like, I'm sure that's things that you know, it's not from one day to the next in reality, but it seemed like that to him.
It can seem like that, of course. Yeah.
And she left him. She took the kids. She wiped out the bank account. He spiraled into depression, lost his job, and then ended up sleeping like on the streets in Perth, I remember. But there was just not enough people there that could help him. So he came to Melbourne to find a job and just couldn't do anything here.
Yeah.
So for the last 10 years or so, it's just the depression, and it's just so hard to get out of that depression. And I understand, like it's hard. It's once you in that realm, you start to believe it. You start to believe you're not worth anything. So you stay comfortable in the depression.
Yeah. Your confidence just gets knocked, you know, and I've known many people like this. I've got family members as well, and they build a wall around themselves and they're safe behind that wall, whether it's, sleeping rough or being on their own, substance abuse, alcohol, and it's their safe little bubble, it's very difficult to smash out of that, and it just gets worse and worse, and to the point where they don't know what was normal, what it used to be like.
Yeah.
We had an old mate of mine. He was found on the streets in Newcastle in the UK. He was a member of the regiment, very brave man. He'd been in just about every conflict the British Army had been involved with since the early 70s. So many tours in Northern Ireland, Bosnia, Gulf. None of that affected it. You see a lot of people get affected by conflict, PTSD, etc. That's a real serious issue. But the vast majority of professional soldiers don't. There's this misconception that every single soldier that sees battle is going to get PTSD. It's not the case. It's generally triggered by something else or one particular drama that's happened. Anyway, so this chap gone through all his military career. He was a very courageous soldier. Had a wife and a child. He came back from Bosnia, and not an inkling that was a problem in the family, in the marriage. Came back to an empty house. You cleared him out, and not only cleared him out, but just was nasty enough to leave a can of lager and a cigar on the coffee table. And that's all she left him. Cleared everything out, went, and he just went to shit. He just fell apart. And he ended up signing off from the army, and lost touch with everybody. And then he was found years later, living rough.
Wow.
And luckily, the regiment, as well as in Britain, they have a really good support network for old soldiers. They really do look after them. I have to say that. But even aside from the official organisations, the regiment has its own little fund as well. So, and we all got together and basically got him back on his feet.
Oh wow!
And got him.
So your group of mates from the regiment, you guys put together.
Oh yeah. We have an association. So, and we still every year they have a reunion, regimental reunion. Hundreds of the guys, catch up. And, well, it's harder for me because I'm in Australia.
Yeah.
But look, it's a very, very strong network. If I was in the shit over here, I know I could reach out to them, and they would help me. And that's mateship. That's why I'm lucky. I'm very lucky that I have these. What's happened to me pales into insignificance compared to a lot of the poor buggers out there who just don't have that.
Yeah.
I'm very blessed. But
Wow.
Yeah, so but there's still there's a lot of old soldiers, ex-soldiers on the streets, that because they have, not because there's lack of support, because they're just so messed up inside their own heads, and it's sad to see,
Is it because of some of the things they've seen, or?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of their own personal lives, wives leaving them, or whatever's happened, there's many different multi-layers of problems with mental health, and it's not just down to one thing. I mean, I had a shit childhood. It's you look back and there's a point where I could have gone either way. And I was bloody lucky. I joined the army. And it's the classic story of a scallywag, wandering aimlessly, and all of a sudden just get picked up. Boom. So in the old days, back in the 80s. The British Army used to have this thing called Junior Leaders Regiment, which used to take youngsters, basically failed school kids. I left school when I was 14, and I was living on my own from 14 onwards. So I'm going through all sorts of nonsense and naughtiness and drinking, and then I just happened to walk past the Army Careers Office in Newport in Wales, and I was just wandering down, go and get a packet of fags or something. I can't remember.
Yeah.
And the Army Careers Office then was like a spider web to entice the fly into. They had a big bay window and had this massive model of a chieftain tank. And as a kid walking past, going, "Fuck, that's cool." And I was looking at this tank and then of course the spider comes out, the sergeant major. "All right, mate. Yeah. Do you like that? Do you? Yeah. Come inside. I've got some more inside."
Wow.
Oh, okay. And next minute I'm signing a document.
Yeah.
And it was entrapment. Absolute entrapment, but thank fuck they did.
Yeah.
Thank God that they did. Because I would have ended up, God knows.
What do you think?
Well, my brother ended up in prison, so I probably would have ended up, and it is that classic tale. You know, you've heard it a million times before. If I'd have joined the army, I'd have been in prison. But you know, it's true. It's absolutely true.
Wow.
And there's so many of my mates in the regiment as well that we had the same story.
Really?
You know, just absolute shitheads. You know, and the other thing is that you learn very, very quickly in the army, or the old school army. You know, I'm not so sure what it's like now. It's very politically correct these days.
Yeah.
But they, in the army I joined, it was short, sharp shocks. You know, I walked into that regiment thinking I was Rocky Balboa. You know, I was this little tough kid, you know, hard as nails and fighting in the streets. And in reality, I was a 60-year-old wet blanket. You know, and I had the shit kicked out of me within a week. You know, and I'm just like, fuck, what the fuck is going on here? You know? Yeah, you just
sure.
you get it, but with equal amount of ferocity, you get equal amount of love. You know, and I was so lucky to have a sergeant major who was just, to me, he always seemed like he was 7'5", built like a brick shithouse, jaw like, you know, square jaw, and fought in the Falklands and numerous tours in Northern Ireland, hard as fucking nails. Really hard as nails. I used to literally pee my pants.
Really?
Yeah. If he shouted, I would fucking wet myself as a 16-year-old. And he would boot you all around the place, and physically boot you all around the place. He'd boot you up the arse and smack you around the head, you know, because you'd been a shit. It's not as if he just randomly walks up to you. I'm deciding, I'll smack you around the head. It's because you weren't doing what you're supposed to. You get the old 3 warnings. Not even 3 warnings, 2 warnings. You know, first of all, he'd pull you aside, tell you what you've done wrong, show you how to fix it. Yeah. Second time, he'd fucking grab you and say, I told you how to do this, do it. Third time, you get bang.
Yeah.
What was that for?
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
But it was equal amount of love. You know, you really were nurtured and looked after. And like I said, thank God I joined the regiment. And it's made me who I am. I've become motivated, passionate about life, and passionate about helping people as well.
Yeah, that's I haven't been to the military at all, but I think it would be completely different now than would have been back then. So how long ago were you in the military?
I left in 2000. That's like 20 years and 10 kilograms ago. As well, that's the downside of leaving.
It's all the croissants that you had at Café Moto.
I think after 15 years of running every day and running around like a soft git, when I first got out, I thought, oh, fuck, I don't have to do that anymore. But I mean, I'm not obese, but it's 15 years of running around like a maniac. Yeah, and it's hard. It's hard when you get out and stop doing that. Yeah, especially as you get older as well. It's a lot harder.
Well, I'm 34 and my knees are starting to hurt a bit.
Oh, wait till you got another 20 years, mate. You're fine.
I need all the like the electrolytes and all the
yeah. I was about the same. My knees are shot. I've had a reconstruction and a back operation.
Oh, really? What happened to your back?
I think it's just those years of carrying heavy weights, jumping up and down off tanks, play rugby, and just not respecting your body. Yeah. Just, and I did a big motorcycle ride a couple of years ago called Miles to Smiles. So it was a big charity motorcycle ride. And I did it from a road from Nepal back to Australia over 3 months. But I did it on an old vintage motorbike, which had, just totally wrecked my back. It was bad before, but I came back from that ride and it was just really creaky. And then one day just gone. I was in the hospital and had a back operation. So I've been in and out ever since.
What did they operate on?
My lower lumbar. So they fused my lower lumbar.
Why? It's because they
7 or whatever it was.
Was the cartilage or whatever inside of the
just gone. Totally gone, and a bulge disc, and it was all sorts of nonsense going on. So they fused the lower. So once that happens, you're in and out all the time.
Really?
Yeah. Especially if I should be losing a bit of weight. I need to drop a few kilograms. That'll probably make life a bit easier as well. But that's what happens, really, isn't it? Yeah. Again, no regrets. I've had a great active life, and
so that's the plan. Just get a house with a long driveway. Yeah. So you have to go get the mail every day.
Yeah. I've just joined my wife goes to the gym every morning. So she dragged me along there now. So, and we've got a massive Great Dane. So we
really
take it down the beach every morning about 5 in the morning. So it's 70 kilograms.
What?
70 kilograms.
Jeez.
Yeah,
head like a horse.
Oh, it's just And she's just a dopey bastard. You know, she's just so sweet, and people are, you know, quite intimidated by her because she's so big.
I remember at the dog park that all the little dogs, the little pug would hide under the Great Danes.
That's exactly what happens. Well, they go nuts, and she just stands there. Like,
Yeah.
it's oblivious. She doesn't like other dogs, and not in the way that she's growly. She just doesn't acknowledge them. Just doesn't acknowledge them. You know, she'd much rather play with humans. So all the dogs are running around her legs, and she just doesn't care.
Yeah, Great Danes are the most well-natured dogs I've ever encountered.
Well, that was forced upon me because I said to the family, I don't want animals while we're going through the whole Café Moto thing. You know, so we've got enough on our plate. And of course, they ignored me, and they said, "Well, we're going to get a rescue dog." So they sent me an SMS one day. We're at the rescue pound. We're going to get a rescue dog, and they took a photograph of Luna. But they did it in such an angle that it didn't look like a big dog. They had like a wide lens, and it looks quite cute.
That's a cute medium-sized dog.
And they brought it home, and it literally put me on my ass. They opened the door, and it just came barreling in.
Wow.
All 70 kilos of it.
So you got Luna is the name?
Luna, yeah.
As a rescue dog?
Yeah.
A Great Dane?
Yeah.
Wow.
So a family had because people buy them as a status symbol because they're such a big dog.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of them that actually get put up for
Really?
adoption. Yeah.
Wow.
Because they're quite destructive. You know, I mean, our house, if you're precious about your house, don't get a Great Dane.
Because they can jump up everywhere.
They jump. I mean, when we come into the house, she literally jumps as high as the top of the door.
Wow.
So, and then she spins around and she knocks things, and she smashes everything. And
Wow.
she wrecks. And then she decides she doesn't like a carpet or a rug. She just tear it up.
Really?
You know, yeah. And so the house, you know, if you're precious about your house, don't get a Great Dane. But they're just adorable.
They are, aren't they?
Absolutely adorable.
There's big dumb gels
just
gels or whatever. What is it? Gels? It's gels.
Gels, yeah.
Gel, yeah.
They're just gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. And then we've now got another dog because my son's looking for a house.
Yeah.
So he's moved in with his mum while he's looking for a house. So they can't have the dog there. So we've got his dog and 2 cats as well. So
Wow, the zoo.
it's a zoo, a pain in the ass.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about your military.
Mm-hmm.
I know people in the military. You've always got some good stories. Like, what's the most testosterone thing you've ever done?
Oh, jeez, no, it's not even fit for public broadcast. He's just, I'm not even joking. You know, I often say to my kids and even my civilian friends, you know, you can't even tell people half of the stories,
Really?
because they wouldn't even believe it.
Yeah.
Some of the shit that we did especially back in the 80s when you can get away with blue murder.
Yeah.
People just wouldn't believe it. I've had my old army mate over for Christmas, and we did a road trip up to Canberra, and I had my civilian mate with us as well. So they introduced him to them, and I was a bit nervous because they're just chalk and cheese, you know.
Yeah.
They like my army mate. His name's Hog.
Yeah.
That'll give you a clue. His name's Hog, and just the funniest man alive.
Yeah.
Like just a hilarious bloke. And my other civilian mate, he's a designer. He's a lighting designer.
Mm-hmm.
And so they'd met briefly when I got married a couple of years ago. They'd met briefly there, but this is a road trip, so they're going to be, you know. So I was a bit nervous, but needn't be. They're both beautiful people, you know. But like I said, stories were coming out. You know, we're having a couple of beers, and you know, him and I were just naturally reminiscing. And you find yourself both checking yourself, going, "Hang on, we can't say that.
Yeah.
We can't tell that story because it's beyond belief. A lot of them, you know, and it's not just, you know, stories about going out and getting pissed. It's stories what you did when you're away on operations, and you know some of the things that happened in the Gulf, Bosnia, you know, Northern Ireland, and just stuff that normal people would never ever get to experience. You know, and it's, you know, again, a great privilege to experience that stuff, but beyond belief sometimes.
Did you ever see some horrendous shit going on?
You do. It's we did. I was only in 15 years, but a lot of my mates, they did the full 22 years. In fact, some of them are still there now. So I did the Gulf, Bosnia, and Northern Ireland. But you know, I've got mates in there. They've done 3 or 4 tours of the Gulf. You know, the second Gulf War, and then back again to Afghanistan, Kosovo, Bosnia. 3 tours of Bosnia, numerous tours of Northern Ireland. Some of them,
that's gonna mess with your mind.
They not really. I think a lot of them. It comes down to training. I fear for a lot of youngsters coming through these days. because there's a genuine epidemic, I think, of PTSD, and I think a lot of it is poor training. You know, it's probably quite controversial thing to say, but I think a lot of people are just not prepared for what they see these days. And when I went to the Gulf, I wasn't shocked about what I saw. I was expecting it, you know, because that's exactly what we're told to expect. So when it happened, and it's raw violence. It's absolute raw violence in its most extreme form, and it's horrible. You know, it's any normal, sane human being wouldn't sit there and say, "Yeah, that's fine."
Yeah,
it's not fine. It's disgusting. It's horrible, but not unexpected. You know.
So okay, I understand. So the how do you think they trained you for this? Like, what do you think is the difference now?
The difference is that there's a lot of fear about telling them as well, because people can claim now, even from going through training. So you can put somebody through training, whether it's paramedic training, police training, military training, any of those industries that require that, or there's a good chance you're going to see something horrible. That, you know, I've spoken to a lot of people who've gone through the training, military, police training and military training, and it's, you know, and like I've got guys still in the regiment who were there when I was there, and they said it's not like the old days. You know, the old thing, swing the lands, and it's not like the old days, and it genuinely isn't. You know, our training for Northern Ireland, for instance, was intense. You know, to the point where when you actually got to Northern Ireland, it was a breeze. You know, there's all that old adage that you train hard, fight easy.
Yeah.
So when in Northern Ireland training, you had entire villages, mock villages that were built, and they had a thing called a civilian population, where people were put in, they were given identities. You know, different regiments were given identities. You know, you're the grocer, you're the barman. You know, you run this and you run that, and you're a family here. You know, and they were given identities. And for the month-to-month training, just to do one tour of Northern Ireland was intense. You know, and then you go on a patrol, a mock patrol, and in one day you'll be hit by 3 snipers, an IED, roadside bombs, and, you know, all in one day in training. And you're reacting, you're running around like a blue-ass fly. Yeah. So then when you get to Northern Ireland, there's no snipers there every single day. You know, you might get a little riot now and again, a couple of bombs, but it's not happening 10 times a day. So, and it's the same with the Gulf. You know, the training was intense, really, really intense, and there was no holds barred. You know, you were shown a lot of stuff. You were shown the horrific side of it all. Your first aid training was real. You know, you'd visit hospitals and you'd see post-mortems and all that kind of stuff. So it's geared up to show you the harsh realities of what it's going to be like. Whereas I don't think that exists anymore. You know, and I think I'm an old fart, so I'm always going to bitch and moan about political correctness, and I'm always going to bitch and moan about what it was like in the old days. And there's a lot of good these days, but there's also, I think we're not as protected as we once used to be, or prepared. So there's a lot of my generation who maybe have had PTSD, but it's because something in particular has happened. Maybe they haven't behaved in a correct manner when they were in the middle of it. You know, they've done something that they've regretted later on. So
that's a very good point, actually.
Yeah, so I think, but like I said, generally speaking, nothing bothered me, and I know so many hundreds of people like that they've gone through much more than I ever went through, you know, and still serving, and still, you know, row after row of medals on their chest, and they're totally fine. But there's other people, and it's the triggers, like that chap that his wife left him. You know, he ended up having PTSD, but that was a trigger from something else. And then he just collapsed into a heap of depression. And, you know, sometimes I think it gets misdiagnosed as well, PTSD. And there's a lot of, you know, again, controversial thing to say, but a lot of people jumping on the bandwagon. Yeah. You know, it's too easy these days with this massive support, and thank God it's there, that people go, oh yeah, I've got PTSD, or I've got this, or I've got that. And they jump in on it, you know, and to me, it muddies the water for the people who really have it. Yeah. You know, and I think there's all these crying asses out there who, you know, they're bitching and moaning about all sorts instead of, you know, because ultimately with mental health issues, ultimately we all want to pull our socks up. We all want to get to the stage where we make ourselves better. But I think sometimes there's a lot of victimhood, and we wallow sometimes. And again, I think that muddies the water for the people who really are genuinely sick.
So when someone says they have PTSD from the military, do they just bundle them in and put them straight into a program instead of filtering or maybe giving them other options to say maybe it's not PTSD, maybe it's something else. Let's try this first, and then is it like that?
I don't think the resources first, but certainly in Australia they don't have that level of resources. It's too hard, you know, and I think it's easy just to throw them in and bundle them into PTSD. There you go. You know, I know there's cases of guys that have been not taking it away from the logistics side of the army or the Air Force or the Navy. You know, everybody has a job and it's very important. But sometimes there'll be a lorry driver, a truck driver who served, and he was delivering fuel in the rear echelons, and he leaves the military, and then he's claiming for PTSD. You know, I know there's people out there like that, and that to me is just milking the system and chogging the system up for the people who are genuinely suffering. Because quite often the people who are genuinely suffering don't reach out. They're the ones that are not reaching out. They're the quiet ones. They're the ones that are sitting at home, you know, sinking themselves into a bottle of whiskey. Yeah. You know, they're not the ones reaching out. So probably a controversial thing to say, but you know, that's
I think there's a lot of truth to what you're saying.
Yeah. And it's, you know, a lot of the people that we used to help at Café Moto, like I said, we had all manner of scallywags working for us, and we had people thieving off us, dipping into the till, stealing bottles of liquor. You know, we knew it was happening. You know, we knew there was a good chance that would happen, but we helped them. You know, and I had a lot of my approach was tough love. You know, where you can get to a certain point with somebody where you look at somebody and go, yeah, I can help this person. You know, you're going to get slapped, you're going to get stolen from, you're going to get let down, but you know what? Ultimately, I think there's a flicker of hope there, or you know, and we've had a massive success rate, and that's based on grabbing them, pulling them aside and saying, sort your fucking self out. You got one chance here. If you don't fucking jump on it, you're out the door. Yeah. You know, and really do, I can throw them around and say, this is it. Generally with blokes, you know, you see a big tough Maori guy or a big tough fucking angry bloke who's known nothing but violence and, you know, growing up. Sometimes they need that little bit of a slap. You know, again, controversial thing to say, but they're in a system that mollycoddles them, you know, and they just constantly hugging them, and which is important. But sometimes what they need is a fucking slap and say, mate, sort your shit out. You know, you're being a dickhead, sort your shit out, and I'm going to help you if you do this, this, and this. And sometimes they go, massive shock on their face and go, all right,
because they've never had that.
They've never had it
being presented.
They've never had a male figure grabbing them and saying, sort your shit out. It's always been, how are you today, Daniel? And how are you feeling? You know,
that's annoying.
It's like that's annoying. You know? It is, you know. And you can cut straight to the chase, and just drill straight down into what the problem is. If you're honest with them, and treat them like generally blokes, but treat them like a bloke, treat them like a man. Yeah, you know, and tell them to act like a man.
There's a lot of that missing in society.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
you can't treat a man the same way you treat a woman in that regard. No. We're just different. Yeah, we're just different animals, aren't we?
100%. And generally speaking, there's a lot of these support networks. There's a lot of women because women are nurturing and caring. You know, so a lot of these charities and support networks, they have a lot of women in. A lot of these angry blokes don't respect them. Yeah, they couldn't give two shits. You know, they're sitting there going, oh, yeah, how much am I going to get? You know, am I going to get off this break-in? Am I going to get off this violence? You know, they might be attending court, and all they're interested in is what they can get out of it. Yeah, you know, and quite often, they're just in this perpetual loop because they don't have a strong male role model. You know, we can talk about females afterwards and talk about, you know, kids and all the rest, but I'm talking about angry young men.
Oh yeah, a very specific group
of angry young men who are violent and, you know, always wanting to kick off, and, you know, just they need a strong male role model to grab and pull them aside and show them how to be a proper man.
And most of the times it's because they didn't have that.
They never had it. They've never ever had it. There's a charity, I won't name it, but when I first got involved with them, it seemed like it was a great idea. You know, they basically had male mentors, and you grabbed a kid and you mentored him. He's contacts you 24 hours a day, and it's brilliant. Yeah. And I thought it was going to be that great. That's what we need. That male role model is going to boot him into shape. But it was you had these guidelines, and you can't do this, and you can't do that, you can't say this, and you can't say that, and you're just hamstrung by these guidelines. And sometimes you've got to step out of the box put the rule book away and literally kick him up the ass and say, this is the way, mate. This is the way it's going to be. And you can continue down this road, or you can snap out of it right now and come with me this way. And I've had a lot of success doing that. Yeah. But you got to be very careful.
Yeah, it takes a certain type of person to be able to do that as well. Not everyone can go out and...
There's a fine line, they say, between bullying and kicking somebody's ass to make them better.
Yeah.
And it does take, and it's getting worse. It's getting harder and harder and harder.
Well, we had this conversation with someone that treats and helps people become better from trauma. So it essentially helps them get over the trauma.
Yeah.
Through NLP and all that kind of stuff. And we both agreed that bullying, because of its low existence now, is changing the way people grow up. Like, people are becoming more inclined to feel sorry for themselves because they didn't feel the effects of bullying. But I'm not saying bullying to the extent where you want to kill yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, because that's horrendous. Like, both people should be,
Of course.
But I think bullying helps you grow as a human being.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think it's all sorts of different things, isn't it? It's the same as driving. With so many shit drivers now. Like, when I grew up, it's called hooning now, isn't it? But when I first got my license, you found a little car park somewhere, or a wood. In my case, in Germany, I was based in Germany, and first car I got, first thing I did was take it down in the woods, and we're rallying through the woods, and fucking about handbrake turns. But you know what? You learn to drive.
Yeah.
You learn skills. Now,
defensive driving,
which
people don't learn that.
Now you can't tell that story to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because everybody's instantly offended and instantly, straight onto it. Oh, that's disgusting. When I first came to, had my...
Just on that, there's nothing like doing a good handbrakey 180.
Brilliant. Absolutely.
Drift the car around the corner.
But you learn to do it in a way that's not going to hurt anybody else.
Yeah.
That's the key thing. You shouldn't be getting told off for doing handbrake turns and donuts. You should be getting told off if you're doing it in a street that's got kids in it. That's the real danger. Well, I remember when I first got to Australia, I based in Germany for years and years, with the Autobahns. And I used to have the kids in the back I used to have an XJ6, and I used to have the kids in child seats in the back, and I'd be driving back to Wales at 160 k's an hour, and that's in the slow lane, and that's just cruising back to Wales, And so I came to Australia. My first introduction to how shit they are with their shit road rules over here. First thing I did was I bought a Daytona 955 motorbike. Excuse me, and I literally within weeks of arriving here bought the brand new bike, and then around about midnight I took it up on the Eastern. It wasn't Eastern then, was it? It was whatever it was. It was pre-Eastern freeway. It was the and I took it on there. There was no traffic around, and I did a couple of laps up and down, make sure there was no coppers, and I'm probably going to get in trouble, but I flogged this shit just to see what it could do. Yeah. And I got it to 265 k's an hour.
Oh, wow.
And no dramas, there was nobody around. It was fine. And it was on a freeway, fine, So I thought, got to work the next day, and I'm in a group office, and one of the guys said, "Oh, so how's the new bike?" I said, "Yeah, I got it. Managed to get it up to 265 last night." And they all looked at me like I'd stamped on a puppy's head.
Oh, yeah.
Instant. Oh my god! And that was my introduction to shit road rules over here. As you'd imagine, I've accumulated lots of points in the 20 years, and
that's why I had to get rid of my bike.
Yeah,
it's just so easy to get your points taken off you.
It's
just a little blip of the throttle. You're at 150 k's an hour.
The difference, and it's like I said, we're on a whole different topic here now. But I've chosen the double or quit so many times where, when you get to the 12 points and you lose your license, or I get to that stage and I'll take the 3 months, But
are you still losing your points?
Yeah, absolutely. I ride motorbikes every day, and you have to, again, it's like going back to the Café, you have to choose whether you want to be a crook by not paying your staff correctly, or you choose the right way. Now, put that in reverse with the riding. You either choose to be a fucking robot and keep staring at your speedo and keep staring at road signs, and it changes all the time trying to catch you out, and or you can ride a motorbike safely and just ride to the conditions. and I ride to the conditions. But it's entrapment. The whole thing's just fucking entrapment. It's nothing to do with, if it was road safety, they'd have the cameras outside schools and in the back of laneways where dickheads are flogging along, but they have them all on the bloody freeway.
You know who the worst people are? It's the mums picking up the kids. They're the worst drivers.
Absolutely.
They just speed. That as soon as they've got their kid in the car, they just don't give a shit. They just.
I love
and
Australia
not all mums.
bits, but I'll tell you what, they're shit drivers. Honest to God, they rubbish. And I was crossing the road in South Yarra the other day, and I swore blind it was a one-way street, but it turns out it wasn't. So I'm walking across the road, looking the other way, thinking, that's the way the traffic comes. And a fucking Jeep flogged along the other way and got on the horn. I just turned around. If I hadn't have dived out the way, he'd have hit me.
Wow.
He'd have hit me.
Yeah.
And I jumped out the way.
Yeah.
So in his mind was, you're doing the wrong thing. The sentence is death. You're walking across the road without paying attention. The sentence is death. And that's where I can't get my head around it. There's no, you can meet the nicest person in the world in a cafe having a coffee with them, get them in the car, and they're just lunatics.
Yeah, I think people need to meditate a bit more. I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Like road rage. Do you road rage?
No, I lecture. I lecture a lot. My wife just thinks it's hilarious because what I do is I've never lost my shit, but what I do is I'll put the window down and I point at them. I go, "You wanker." And generally, that's when the road rage comes, and that comes the other way. But I'm the one that's just wanker.
I give him the old. I go, like that was a bad move.
Yeah, that's just. I had it this morning. I just pulled out. John, the other thing that shits me over here is in the UK when you're changing lanes, you put your indicator on. It's like the parting of the seas. People get out the way and you move in there. Here, it's like you're not fucking getting in front of me.
Yeah. What's with that?
You put your indicator on, they floor it to try and block you. And that's like I said, I've got mates who I love dearly who are like that. They get in the car, and they're being dickheads, and I'm like, what are you doing? You're the nicest guy on the planet. You get behind the wheel and you're suddenly a fucking idiot.
I know. People just change. It's horrible.
You see it more on a motorbike.
Yeah.
When you ride.
Yeah, I think because we ride bikes,
yeah,
we're more in tune with what's going on.
You get that sixth sense. If you're riding all the time, you get that. You just know what they're going to do before it even enters their head. You know? And it's just you get into a rhythm. You get into
it makes you a better car driver.
It does
as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Because anytime I always hear 4 bikes around me.
Yeah.
And as soon as I do, just make sure you stay in no swerving, anything like that.
Absolutely, yeah. You
get out of the way if let them go past.
And the riders have a lot of responsibility as well, because you do see a lot of riders are just being cockheads. You look at it and think, and the same anywhere. Cyclists, you're the ones giving everybody that bad name. But it's ironic because when I did that trip through Southeast Asia, it's chaos, especially riding through India and places like that, Burma and Mongolia, Cambodia. It's chaos. It's absolute fucking chaos. But once you get the rhythm, it's actually a lot easier to ride there than it is to ride over here.
I agree.
At least they're predictable. The rule over there is snap your wing mirrors off. Don't worry what's behind you. That's their problem. Yeah. You just concentrate on what's in front of you.
Have you ever ridden through Vietnam?
Yeah. So we did, and Cambodia. And
it's that I used to call it the structured chaos.
It is. Yeah.
It's like they zoom together like a swarm of bees.
Yeah.
And if anyone starts crossing, like they just divide, and it's just synergy.
There's no road rage.
Yeah.
I when I was learning I was in Kathmandu and I had an old Royal Enfield which had the gears and the brakes on the other way around. The old original way that the bikes used to have.
So, oh really? Is that how they were?
That's originally motorbikes had the.
So the brake on the left.
Brake on the left, gears on the right.
Oh.
And
no, sorry.
Yes. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. So the opposite way around. And so I had this motorbike and I had to get used to it. So I straight in on a busy Kathmandu streets, learning how to. Of course, this car pulls out in front of me. Instinctively, I just jammed what I thought was the rear brake. Turns out to be the gear pedal, and I hit this guy. And he had quite a new car, and I slammed straight into him and put a dent in his wing.
Oh, geez.
And I'm lying on the floor. And he didn't give a shit about me, but he just stuck his head out and started smiling. And he said, "Can you move your bike?" So I dragged my bike out the way, and he drove off.
Wow.
But there's no road rage there. It's just
it's nice.
It's nice. There's no angry people. There's a lot to be said between different cultures, isn't there? With in Western culture, I don't know, it just seemed to be really hepped up and angry, and over there, and half the time they're living in absolute shitholes. But they just seem to be, whether it's couldn't give a shit. I don't know what it is, but they seem quite happy.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I when I was riding the bike in Ho Chi Minh City,
Mm.
that was, I thought everyone would say like how dangerous it is and how you're gonna die and all these things, but the reality was that it was a lot safer than riding here
I agree.
because
Yeah.
it was you're a pack mentality.
Mm.
You all go together.
Yeah.
And there's like 50 people in a small group,
Yeah.
and no one bumps into each other.
Absolutely. Yeah, very skilled, very skilled. And I remember when I was going to do a right turn, excuse me, I was going to do a right turn in Kathmandu with a local chap with us. And I'm sitting at this junction, and there's just a constant stream of traffic.
Yeah.
There's not a fucking hope in hell you're going to wait for a break in the traffic. And he's tooting me saying, go, go. And it's like jumping into the abyss. And he said, just go. And I said, there's no gap. He said, just go. And I'm sitting there dutifully with my indicator on. He's laughing at me. And he said, just fucking go. So in the end, I just revved it. And you close your eyes and just go. And then it's like I said, it's like diving into a shoal of fish.
Yeah.
Where all the fish just part around you. And that's when you're like, oh, yeah, I get it. I've got it now. Just people will get out your way.
Yeah.
They really will. And again, don't worry what's behind you. That's their problem.
That mentality that you have to look at for them, it's reversed.
It's reversed, yeah, absolutely. Whereas here we have that entitlement, it's getting so bad now. Where, like I said, pulled out this morning from the servo, and this guy was miles behind, but he'd see what I was doing, pulling out of a servo, and he would have been easy 400 meters away, 500 meters away, just tootling along the Nepean, and you can see his bonnet raise up as he's floored it to try and stop me coming out. Why?
Yeah.
What the fuck would you not want me to come out and join the traffic for?
Yeah.
And then when I did go, he's right up my ass and
Yeah. I think there's a difference between people that, I don't want to sound like a dickhead here, but like business owners.
Yeah.
I think we have a different mentality. We're used to dealing with stressful situations on a day. Like not even when we get home, we're still dealing with work stuff in our head.
Yeah.
And I think I want to say that has a lot to do with the way we carry ourselves in public.
I agree.
Like no road rage. Like you lecture people instead. You're like, let me help you be a better person. I feel like that's what happens. And people that that just road rage, like they're just having a bad day, or they can't deal with stress, or they can't,
It's a different reality as well, I think, sometimes, because there's been times where I've stepped out of the car and they've just got to the point where you've been chased. I've been chased before, where you've been driving up and you go, oh, God, for fuck's sake, just go. And in the end, you say, right, he's not going to go, so I'll pull over. And then you get out, and it's like, oh, I just wanted to talk to you about what you're like, mate, you were just fucking raging in the car like you were going to snap my neck 2 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And I get out the car, and you're like, oh, it's okay, mate, it's all right, it's all good. So I think a lot of it is it's like they're in their own little cocoon. It's like when you pick your nose in the car, isn't it? You can't think anybody else can see you. But they're in the car, and they just don't feel like, it's like when these guys are hanging out the window going, come on, you fucker, I'll punch your lights out. And you're going, why, is your door locked? Is your door jammed? They say, well, get out the car then. Oh, well, I'll be out there in a minute, I'll smash your face in. All right, okay, I'm here.
Yeah.
But it's just no need for it. No need for all that anger.
I wouldn't get out of the car. Like if someone was road raging at me, I just let them go. You've had a bad day. Just go. I'm not gonna make your day worse.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Yeah,
and that's and again, I think being a business owner does help. You've seen some bad shit, or you've been in amongst that poverty and people living in a shit existence. So you've got more of an appreciation of life and how to enjoy life.
On that note, it hit me. It was a lot harder for me to see because I didn't grow up in those circumstances. I grew up privileged as well.
Yeah.
But it was a reality check to understand that people go through shit.
Of course, yeah.
And sometimes, I mean, it's not our job to understand them. Like it's not our job to feel sorry for them. But I think we do have to understand on some level.
Sometimes
all this is our society.
Yeah, I think sometimes all you need is somebody to just lift your chin up a little bit.
Yeah.
And give them a little bit of a boost, and give their self-esteem a little bit of a boost. I have a slightly different take on it all. I think, like I said, I've come from a shit existence. I've come from what then used to be called a working class background. I don't think it exists anymore. But I come from I grew up in a council estate. I grew up,
What does that mean?
council estate is like commission housing.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and I had a shit mother. She was bloody hopeless. And so it was, didn't have that normal family background, but you exist, you survive, and you do your thing. And when you're out of that and you look back on it, you think, I don't want to be that again. I don't want to go back to that. And it's not, I don't look back at that. Even now, I don't consider myself a victim. I don't feel sorry for myself. I just think that's what it used to be like, and I've pulled my socks up, got out of that, and it no longer exists. I look back on the child and you think, you feel sorry for that child, but I don't connect with that child. It's easy to sink into that victimhood. It's easy to feel sorry for yourself all the time. There's nothing wrong with that for a period of time, but you have to have a plan. You have to have a goal to get out of that. To pull your socks up, and generally speaking, the aim is to get yourself sorted, not to be in this perpetual sorrow and victimhood. And I think sometimes that, like I said before, going back to what I was saying before, sometimes I think people are stuck in that because whether they enjoy it or I don't know.
Well, another guest on this show, they came on and told us about how they had issues with drugs. They're exceptional human beings, but they had a rough patch with drugs, and they said as long as you keep giving yourself excuses. Every time he would tell the story to people when he was in that, he would be stuck in that story. So he had to find a way to break it, right? Because if you keep telling the story like I was addicted to drugs, or I was this, or I was that, you are still in that story. Right? But he had to find a way to break it. And when he broke the way he told people that story, then everything just blossomed for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you're right. People tend to want to stay in that story.
Yeah. And when there's narcotics involved and alcohol, it's hard. It's because you look quite often, a big chunk of your life, you're not in reality.
Yeah.
And when you're not in the drug-induced coma, you're in another shit reality.
Yeah.
So it's very, very hard. Very, very hard.
Yeah.
And but you have to have it. You have to have that goal, and you have to, reach out to people like you, and that's ultimately that's the aim, and I think helpers and charity workers have a responsibility as well to not keep stroking their chins. And, they really, sometimes you do need that little bit of a boot up the ass and say, all right, come on, enough's enough. Let's get you this way. And it'll be a journey. Of course, it's going to be a journey, but it's a journey that has to be taken. And I think, and that's, I'm probably a bit harsher because of my background, and I can see it. I've been there, and I know what it is, and I know how easy it is for somebody. I was quite lucky with a mentor to lift me out of that and show you the way. But it can be incredibly tough, and I see that as well with a lot of people on. Again, I'm going to sound like a right-wing nutter, but a lot of people on welfare and this perpetual, I can't find work and I can't do this and I can't do that. I know this because a lot of my family like that. I've got family who never had a job and they've always been on the dole. And I say, there's no fucking excuse. That system is there to help people. And there's a few people there who are just real, especially in the UK. It's worse in the UK because it's such a great system. It really is. You can be quite comfortable.
Really?
Absolutely, yeah. You can be quite comfortable having your car paid for and having a house paid for, and as long as you're not, you're never going to be rich doing it, but you can live quite comfortably. And it's and there's people that I think that's taking that system too far, and again, I can speak because I've been there, and I know, and I've lived with these people, and I've lived in that environment. Quite often I'd get caned if I was having this conversation with certain people. But those certain people quite often are the privileged. They've had privileged upbringing. They've never known welfare. They've never known poverty. They've never ever known violence or abuse or starvation, or they've never had it. So they can only look. And
it's all relative.
Yeah, it's all relative. Yeah. I probably sound like a right-wing nutter now.
But I get it.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give if anyone's, our 20 million listeners out there?
You say 20 million. Oh.
What advice would you give to someone that's that wants to, maybe that's feeling I don't know, because we've covered so many topics here,
know,
but
yeah.
I want to wrap this up with giving a bit of advice to someone that's maybe thinking about starting a business, but maybe doesn't feel too good about themselves.
Do you know what? It's advice that I haven't invented, and it's advice that so many people give, and it's just get the fuck out there and do it.
Mm.
You know, because the you have to be brave, and you have to be bold, and you have to give it a crack, and it's and not being fearful of failure. You know, I like I said, going back to what I said before, there's so many people I know that deserted me because I failed, or they see
Yeah.
as a failure of Cafe Moto. I don't see it as a failure. I see it. I'm proud. I give it a crack. It was brilliant. It was awesome. You know, great food, great coffee, great atmosphere, and I'm proud of it. If it failed because of reasons beyond my control,
Mm.
so don't be afraid. You know, I think people worry, especially nowadays. People worry about what other people think of them. You know, and my kids have always grown up with the best gift I can give to you is the gift of not giving a fuck. Don't give a fuck about what anybody thinks about you. You know, care about what your friends, your true friends, and your family think about you, of course. But people that are around you or people you don't know, you know,
It doesn't matter.
it doesn't matter. You look, Cafe Moto. Like I said, we had 8,000 followers, so we had a strong social media following. And for somebody like me who was never really into social media, we had to learn fast. And I remember in the early days that people around us, the team around us, like really take it to heart when you get a bad review. Everybody's going to get a bad review, you know. And half the time it's some dickhead that I was never born to be in hospitality, I don't think, because I've got about a minute and a half of customer service before I tell them to get fucked. And I think that was quite endearing to a vast majority of our customers. But you're always going to piss people off.
Yeah.
You're always, and we didn't pander to the cafe elite. You know, the ones I used to get the influence. Oh fuck, they piss me off. Any influencers listening to this, you can go and get fucked. Fuck off, you arrogant, entitled twats. They'd come into the cafe. Oh, I'm fucking so. I got so many fucking followers on fucking Instagram. And if you give me a free meal, I'll give you a nice little good review.
Really?
Yeah, oh, just all the time. What? If you're a cafe that was gaining in influence, you always get these influencers.
They came in to
for a free fee, yeah.
Oh
and not only for a free fee, but they want to bring their family. Oh, I'm bringing my family in on Thursday. Not even can I? I'll be bringing my family in on Thursday. I've got X amount of followers on Instagram. You know, I can give you a favorable review if you give me a favorable bill. And I'll say, well, you can get fucked. You know, so and next minute you've got a bad review.
Wow.
A fake bad review. So that goes on. So
yeah, that's
absolutely
that's crap.
It's just bollocks. It's utter bollocks. So we in the early days you get these reviews and a team, because we built such a great team, you know, it's a great vibe. It's really, people loved being there. And then you get this review or somebody make a comment on a Facebook post you did, and people take it to heart. You know, I'd reply back. If you want to laugh, go, I don't know if they're still up there now, but if you want to laugh, go up and have a look at the Google reviews for Cafe Moto. Because my response is, I just, if there was a genuine fuck up, respond was, yeah, sorry, mate. It took 20 minutes to get our coffee, and I'd investigate it, and the guys said, oh yeah, the coffee machine broke down, or the grinder was, and I'd reply back to, yeah, you know what, you dead right, we fucked up. Drop the ball, come in, we'll give you free coffee. Yeah. But then you get the ones that, we had one guy came in and we ordered a soy latte, and we're under the pump, and we didn't do any latte art. Because soy milk, I'm fucking not even joking. Soy milk is a little bit harder to do latte art. So, and he comes back with his coffee.
Are you kidding?
I'm not even joking.
Oh my God.
That's only the bloody start of it. So he's bitching and moaning. And in the end, and we're under the pump, and he's just rattling on in my ear and I'm going, mate, just fuck off. Just go, fuck off.
Yeah.
Next bit, of course, we got a bad review, and I responded, and I'm quite gifted with writing and so yeah, I don't know if they're still up there, but if you want to laugh, go.
That's what you should do. You should publish a book of bad reviews and responses.
I know. I should have kept them. I should have kept them.
They're probably still up there.
We had people coming in saying, "I'm only coming in because I've read your hilarious responses on Google."
Dude, you should make that into a book.
I know. I'd love to find out if they're still there, actually. But it was hilarious. But you know what? It comes back to that. Just fucking get a grip of yourself. Let's get back to normal. You know, I don't know what it is in the world today. Yeah. I'm old enough to remember the old days where not everything was perfect, but we weren't so sucky lala. We weren't so offended. We weren't so bloody, nowadays you gotta watch what you say. And Ricky Gervais is a huge hero of mine.
Yeah.
He's just doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah, I know. I actually yesterday I watched the Golden
Oh,
Globe.
did you? Yeah, that's hilarious.
That is
Yeah.
hilarious.
And it's ironic that he's one of the biggest lefty lovies out there, but he's been accused of being right wing because of the comments. Because he's for free speech, and I really fear free speech is just getting stifled nowadays. And it's just I do. I'm old enough to remember the old days, and I think I'm just worried where we're going.
Yeah,
and I'm worried about what's.
I think we're definitely taking a turn too far on the other side, but I think it'll balance out in the next.
I hope so. I think another hero of mine, Stephen Fry, another lefty lovey. I was listening to one of his podcasts actually recently, and he was saying the same thing. He's got this new podcast out called Seven Deadly Sins. Sorry, promoted a different podcast. So
that's it. Cancel this podcast.
It's Stephen Fry, and he said he was talking about the divide that's grown between the left and the right, and I consider myself probably center right, if anything, having come from poverty. I thought, fuck that, I don't want to be poor again. But I really do consider myself center. But some of the things I say, you just get instantly labeled. Yeah. You're a right wing racist. Why the fuck am I a racist just because I've comment on certain things, or why am I a misogynist, or why you instantly get labeled. I've got strong views of women in the military in combat roles. That's my view. It doesn't mean it's right or it's wrong.
We're entitled to.
But I'm entitled to have an opinion based on my experience in combat. I have a view. It's a view by Peter Jones. It's not going to be set into law. It's a view that I have. But in certain places, in certain circumstances, you can't have that view. You can't have that conversation. You can't bring your point of view across based on your experience, because you just get flogged and you're a right-wing nutter. So, I fear. So Stephen Fry, he was saying that the divide is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And there's a big ravine that's opened up. And you get all the bloody right-wing nutters on one side and the left-wing nutters on the other. And in the middle, the vast majority of them looking up going, what the fuck is going on? What's happening? How did this all happen? Yeah. It's really scary. And I hope it does sort itself out. But I think it looks like it'll get worse before it gets better, and it's but
change is always good, right?
It is absolutely.
Change is always good.
Yeah, I think so.
It makes people think.
There's no doubt about it. There's things a lot better. Some things are a lot better. With better health now, we're better educated, and so many things are so much better. Yeah, I think we lost our sense of humor somewhere.
I think so too.
Yeah, we've definitely lost our sense of humor somewhere.
It's fun to be funny.
And taking the piss.
It's fun to be funny, everyone.
Where do we stop taking the piss? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
When do we stop having the ability to take the piss?
Yeah. And the piss out of yourself.
Take the piss out of yourself.
That's the most important, I think.
Absolutely. My kids rip the shit out of me mercilessly because I rip the shit out of them. Yeah. And if you listen to some of the conversations in our house, we'd probably be arrested. But you know what? We take the piss out of each other, and and it's hilarious. My daughter's a screaming lesbian, and she's fucking hilarious, and she's got the best sense of humor. Yeah. And takes the piss out of herself, calls herself a fucking dyke, and doesn't take offense, doesn't she's a good positive force within her community, and she goes to all the LGBTQR, STV, UV, whatever the hell it is, goes to all of the events. And we go with her, and we have a fucking absolute. And she's got a really good, strong, tight knit friendship group around her. Yeah. And based on taking the piss. Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah. Not like, oh, I'm in this community, therefore you have to treat me different. No, we're all the same. We're all exactly the same.
There's going to be dickheads in every community.
Of course it is. Yeah. But it's that ability to say that. That's what I feel. Yeah.
Peter, I'm going to wrap this up. Dude, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah. It seemed like it was 4.5 minutes ago we started.
I know, right? I don't know how long it's been, but it's flown by.
That's been fantastic. Now, I really appreciate you allowing me to come in.
Yeah, dude. Thanks for letting everyone know about Café Moto and all the adventures and everything you've done.
It's a shame it's not a marketing plug because it's closed now.
Well, you can use this for the next venture.
Yeah.
Because I think there will be so many more to come.
There will be.
Dude, a real pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thanks everyone for listening.
Cheers.